Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. We're happy to be here on this 15th of May. Thrilling to be halfway through the month already. It's fantastic. It's also my sister's birthday, so happy birthday to her. She doesn't listen to the broadcast.
But if she ever did, hello, Shannon.
If she ever did, yeah. If she ever dug into the archives for this day, it would be in there that we said publicly, happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So my sister's 3 years younger than I am, and so she's hitting the big 50.
Woo!
The big nifty Shannon's 50.
I like it. That's a cool poem.
Yeah.
Did you write that yourself?
No, not at all. Quick story about that. When I turned 40, I was talking to her and she was asking me, like, what do you want to do for your 40th? I think it's a big deal. And I was like, well, I don't know, but what I don't want is for anyone to say, Lordy, Jason's 40. And I was just like, okay. So then my mom did some things and set up some signs and stuff, and I drive on to my mom's house for my birthday dinner, and there was a big, huge sign, handwritten, that said, guess what it said?
Oh, no. Lordy, Jason's 40.
That's right.
That's awesome.
So I thought of making a huge sign.
I'll do it.
Saying nifty, Shannon's 50.
Do it. Do it. Big sparkling highlighted
like poster board.
That sounds fair to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wonder if she'll catch the connection.
Well, I kind of blew it because I sent her a video message reminding her of her crime against me when I turned 40, and kind of stated that I might be wreaking a horrible revenge upon her.
Oh my.
Oh, so we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, welcome to everyone that's listening, and we will say hello to anyone in the chat in just a few minutes. Tonight's topic is a good one. It is when to walk away. Our friendship's a gamble. The Gambler. So we'll get into that in just a minute. Excited about that. And this one was written by Jennifer, and she'll be reading the write-up, and then I'll do the hosting duties as usual, and we'll ask some questions and have some conversations. So let's say hello to everyone. I don't normally do this, but we're going to say hello to Glenn first, and so he doesn't feel left out.
Oh.
Glenn, say hello if you don't mind, sir.
Hi. I don't feel left out.
Good. I knew you wouldn't.
Bottom of the list anytime you want.
That's exactly why I said it, because I know you don't feel left out. So
whoever's last is first.
Right.
That's right.
Right. It's just not that important, is it?
Right,
yeah, right. You're like, I've got my priorities elsewhere.
Elsewhere. How are things going on the home front? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Housework needs doing.
How's the yard? Is the yard done?
Well, no, he can't come back he's coming back after probably July, because I haven't got any money to pay him until I save up.
Oh, okay.
So I told him, don't come.
Don't come, I can't pay you.
Well, yeah, that's the deal. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to do that to someone and
get
them to work and not pay them. So we're just telling the truth.
Well, you're a better man than some, because I have heard plenty of horror stories where they have had people do work and then they wait till after the work is done to tell them, I don't have any money.
Nope. Not doing that.
Well, good. Well, hope everything's going well with Sandra, and I will also say hello to Marisa, our newest member to the panel. Yeah, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to True Story Live. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all. I'm looking forward to tonight's write-up. I'm excited.
I'm excited
It's
too.
beautiful weather
Yes.
here. My greenhouse is up. I've got plants going in there.
Nice.
And it's like a little piece of heaven right in the backyard.
Now you don't have to say this, but remind me what state you live in, if you don't mind.
I
saying.
live in Ohio. I was
that's
born
right.
and raised in Michigan,
That's
but
right.
I migrated to Ohio before my son was born, and he just turned 19. So
Well,
I've
there
been in
you
Ohio
go.
for a while.
Yeah, I remember that now. I couldn't remember. I was also, if you probably remember, I was born in Michigan as well. I was born in Lansing. And for the first 7 years of my life, we lived. My parents moved everywhere, so we lived in Highland, Holland, Gladwin. We lived in a little town outside of Lansing for a little while called Mason.
Been there.
And,
Yep.
Yeah.
My aunt taught at the school in Mason, the Hartwood, the special needs school.
Oh, really? Well, I never
Mason, yep.
went to school
I've
there.
been there many times. Yep.
I kind of like Mason. It's just a little town. People know each other and things like that. It's not terribly large. I think the main drag is about 5 miles long that goes through Mason, if I remember correctly. They got a big boy there, and they got a bowling alley and a movie theater and stuff like that. But it's just a little small town. They're very serious about their high school sports there. Anyway, last but not least, I'm actually last, but we'll say hello to my wonderful wife, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy.
I've had a weird headache
howdy.
all day. No fun, but it's lifting. Praise God.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes, I think it's just the company. You guys are better than Excedrin.
We are better than Excedrin.
Yes. No prescription needed.
That's right. I'm gonna
Take
sneeze.
2 of these and okay, bye. God bless you, our host.
Didn't happen.
Oh man, that's the worst.
Okay. So we don't have anyone to say hello to in the chat at this point. Doesn't mean people won't pop in. So if anyone comes in, we'll make sure and say hello to them. We were a little late getting the write-up posted. Didn't get it posted till this afternoon. So I don't think we've ever had a broadcast where nobody came.
I'm going to share it out right now. Let us pray.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Luckily, we're just all so cool that hanging out together was just as good.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. And we know that other people that don't really show up in the chat do listen to the broadcast. Otherwise, we would have like 13 views only. So we know that. So if you're listening, thank you for listening after the fact. We appreciate you.
I don't know about you guys, but I have this song stuck in my head on a loop. The song that's posted with the write up.
Oh, the gambler.
It's been kind of like there.
Yeah.
You do have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Yes, absolutely.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's such a good song. Talk about good lyrics. I was reading. I hadn't ever read them full out until earlier today, and I was like, oh hey,
Yeah.
good lyrics.
Well, we do have a couple people. One person that I think is new to our channel, Jen, if you can see in the chat and say hello to her and say hello to our friend.
Yeah. So we've got Lil Lady. Hello from Washington State, she says. Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
We're in South Carolina. Glenn's from Australia. Nez is from Ohio. So we've got people from all over the place. Jamie Grace is in Arkansas. I think that's correct. Jamie, if you want to correct me, goodness gracious, I can't remember.
Razorbacks.
I like
Razorbacks, Arkansas. Yeah, little lady from Washington. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll just.
And how are you doing tonight?
Me, I'm doing well. Yeah. So I'm Jason. My friends just call me Crips. Because when you're from up north, they would just call people by their last name. And plus, I've worked in a lot of places where there was other Jasons, and then people couldn't keep it separate. Even working from home as a supervisor, there's only like 20 people, and in that there are 2 other Jasons. So I just have everyone call me Crips, but I'm happy to be here. Everything's going good with me. I'm very excited to hear this topic. I think it's a good one that everyone can benefit from. So thank you, and thank you for listening. Just take it away when you're ready, Jen.
All right. Tonight's inspiration comes from the Song of the Gambler. Link is in the description. And here we go. Some of the lyrics that apply to tonight's topic. You've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. What we want to look at tonight is this concept. When in any relationship do we stay, hold 'em? When do we leave, walk away? And when do we escape quickly, run? Relationships can be difficult to fully see. We might have our own bias. We might have trouble seeing the true face of another person behind their well-constructed mask. We might not even trust our own judgment. As we grow and mature and heal from our own wounds, I believe we can learn how to spot what's behind the mask that some people wear, and we can discern what our reactions to people need to be in a relationship for our own protection and well-being, but also do what is best in treating others well. Life is full of the ebb and flow of friendships. We meet people, we get to know them, we open up to them as they open up to us. Sometimes a friendship lasts for a lifetime, and sometimes people come into our life for a short season, and hopefully we learn more about people and about ourselves through these encounters. Have you ever had a friendship that started out sweet and ended up souring? Was it something you did or something they did? How do you know when to walk away from a friendship? How have you responded when someone has walked away from you? I used to have a huge issue when people didn't take to me like I'd wanted them to. I'd meet someone and imagine we become best friends, only to see them grow a deeper friendship with another of my friends instead of me. I look back now and wonder if me not knowing myself and being a chameleon was what turned people off. In other words, when I was not being authentic, fully embracing the person I was and who I wanted to be. Do you think people can tell when you aren't being authentic? I believe so. Can you tell when someone else isn't being authentic? Does that make you want to get to know them better? Do you walk away, or do you spend time with them, ask some hard questions to discern their true intentions? How do you know or decide which one is the best decision? As we've discussed before in other shows, sometimes people don't act like themselves due to an attempt to manipulate, but sometimes it's because they just weren't taught how to live in authenticity. This can be the hard part, to determine which it is. Obviously, or at least we hope it becomes obvious. For it to be obvious, when it is manipulation, we can walk away. However, if they just do not know how to be themselves, are not aware how to be authentic, we might want to take the time to be a good friend to them in hopes that they can learn. I recently had to step away from a friend that I deeply care about. Having gone through an abusive marriage as well as some past toxic friendships, my body seems to have become my barometer. I tend to people please, which is getting better through my own healing journey. But when a friendship isn't healthy for whatever reason, my mind wants to help them and work through it, put them before myself, but my body at times like this is not in agreement. My body sends painful messages to me. It sounds the warning bell. It seems to say walk away or sometimes run. My body gets the message before my heart and mind sometimes. Thankfully, I am learning how to listen to the messages, the warnings that come from these reactions. It is something we can all learn to do. It just takes time and attention to what is going on inside ourselves. It takes being introspective, diving deeper into who we are, and knowing how to read others as well. Sometimes it's because they don't care about you. It's one-sided or all about them. They won't let you have your own autonomy. They get upset about situations without asking questions to determine if their thoughts about you or a situation are correct before making hasty assumptions. Sometimes a friend doesn't want you to be friends with anyone else. In going through these kinds of experiences, has it made you leery about opening yourself up again to friendships? So, what can we do to get better at determining whether we drop our defenses and let certain people in? With practice, we can become an expert at learning how to protect ourselves and know the difference between a friend and someone who may not be good for us. All friendships, good and bad ones, can be a gift of experience. Through it all, we learn more about people and we learn more about ourselves. When they are good, we have a person or a group of people where there is mutual support, love, and encouragement. And with the ones that don't work out, we gain experience and knowledge. Thanks for joining tonight and sharing your own experiences with us regarding friendships. I'll stop it there. I'll wait to save the see you next week for later.
Okay.
Bye, we're done. See you guys next week.
Yeah. Figure out the questions. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jen. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first, the song. I'm sure everyone here has heard it. When I was a kid, it was I wore this album out. It was Kenny Rogers' Greatest Hits. So it had The Gambler on it and Coward of the County and Lucille. You know, he picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. That one. Anyway, I was definitely a Kenny Rogers fan. I think in the 80s, most people were. A very popular singer, but this is probably one of his biggest hits. And it came with a video too. I don't think the link that we posted has the video to it, but you can see Kenny Rogers. He always looked older to me. He looked like, I mean, maybe when you're young, everyone looks older, but you know, he had gray white hair and beard and stuff like that. So he was an interesting person for sure. But anyway, I think he was right in this concept. Now, the song, it's easy to think, well, he's talking about poker. But I would agree that it applies to this situation. The concept of knowing when to, you know, give up on a relationship. And we're going to get into the questions and see what everyone else thinks. So before the first question, Jen says, life is full of ebb and flow of friendships. We meet people, we get to know them. We open up to them as they open up to us. Sometimes a friendship lasts for a lifetime. Sometimes people come to your life for a short season, and hopefully we learn more about people and about ourselves through these encounters. So first question related to that is, have you ever had a friendship that started out sweet and ended up souring? So does anyone feel like going first on this one? I usually just call on people, but if anyone wants.
I'll go first.
I'll wait for you. I'll wait.
I've had many. Oh, no. Oh, man. Yeah. I think I've mentioned this before, but, you know, I was talking to Jason about this one particular girl that I was friends with in 8th grade in middle school. And, we used to hang out, actually sharing. I had mentioned to the little girl that I nanny, she hadn't known about honeysuckles and
Right.
how you pull, you know, you pinch the end of them and pull the stem out and you get the little dot of juice, you know, that little tiny dewdrop of juice. So she had some in her backyard and we were talking about those. And I was sharing with her about how this friend of mine and we came up with this brilliant idea that we thought this was like a $1,000 idea. You know, $1,000 was big time for kids back then at that age.
Right.
But we were going to bottle honeysuckle juice and sell it. And so we were in our garage, like, you know, all these honeysuckles and trying to milk these things, you know, into these little baby food jars. And it was taking forever. We finally gave up. We were like, that was a bad idea. But this one particular friend, she was someone that was in my life when I fell off a horse when I was 13 and broke my arm really bad. And I was wearing her clothes. It was a turtleneck and a sweatshirt, and the EMTs had to cut up the arm to get to my arm to see what was going on. And she got really mad at me and became just very mean and cared more about the clothes I was wearing than how I was, you know. And I had shattered my elbow, like it was really, really bad. So, and then I ended up, you know, getting her a gift and to apologize. And I felt horrible, but it was just one of a handful of friendships that gave me the message that, you know, I wasn't worth the clothes I was wearing pretty much, you know, to her. And the friendship soured and she became friends with kind of a mean girl that was older than us and just didn't talk to me after this whole thing happened. And so it definitely started out sweet, the friendship. I really liked her and she seemed to like me. And then it just went downhill and it just was very upsetting and wounding, you know.
Yeah.
So that was one of mine. Who's next?
Okay. I think Marisa wanted to go next, don't you?
I can certainly jump in here.
All
The
right.
question is, what have we had a friendship that started sweet and ended up sour?
Yes, correct.
Wow,
You got it.
yeah, I could do a whole mini series on things like
Well,
that.
good. We need to stretch the time out. Take as much time as you need.
I've had people that be around for a season. It started out very nice, and then when things went wrong with another person, that led to some people just choosing sides and going their way.
Right.
That happens too. And then you find out, well, you really haven't lost much if they're going to leave you just because you're not friends with somebody else.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, the last big experience like that though was with the malignant narcissist who inspired me to go live every night with my art, and an example truly of God taking somebody and using them for his good purposes, even if the person themselves did not have good intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting.
that was
how
rough.
happens.
That was rough. Everybody, saw us get along real well. We were just know each other online, but I was there for them in their stream. They were going live every night doing their artwork, and I was there every night and did a best job I could for them as a moderator. And what I thought was a friendship, really, all of it was really a sham when you're dealing with someone who is a narcissist.
Yeah.
They're not being genuine. Nothing they said was genuine.
Right.
Yeah.
So it all gets chucked in the trash, and that's really too bad because you care about people. At least I care about my friends when at least I think they're being friends. I
Yeah.
put my heart out there. I'm not very good at guarding my heart. It goes out there and it gets hurt a lot, and that's my own damn fault. But I would rather be real and put my heart out there than to be cold and bottled up and be stoic and
Yes.
no, that's just not me. That will never be me.
Yeah.
Kudos to people who can do that and have a straight face and not reach out. That's just not me. So
Right.
I guess getting hurt is just part of the living experience. As for that particular relationship, I'm still glad I went through it. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. I came away stronger for having gone through that experience. So,
Sure.
yeah, that's the first relationship that comes to mind when, from going from sweet to sour. So the sweet
Yeah.
parts were sweet, whether they were not real to him or not. Oh, well, they were sweet for me. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. So we'll say hello to Kelly Ann Dean, who popped into the chat while we were talking. We're glad that you're here. Hello. And did I see anyone else? I think that might be it, but we're happy to have you here. She's a regular in the chat. All right. So let's hear from Glenn. Glenn, did you have any friendships that started out sweet and ended up souring?
Oh yeah, when I was a lot younger, but that was when I had no concept of the dynamics of relationships, and when I was just as responsible as they were for why it didn't work out.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes to the present, no, I don't think sour is the right word. Sometimes things just don't work out. Well,
Right.
it doesn't feel like it's sour. It
Right.
just feels like, oh well, you did everything you could, didn't work out. That's okay.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, I have more than one. I like what Glenn said. I mean, sometimes you just meet someone and you hit it off, and it doesn't necessarily turn sour. You lose touch with people. And I have several good friends that I grew up with that just live in a different state. We might talk once a year. And with those folks, it's like nothing ever happened. I mean, there's just so much history. It didn't turn sour. It's just, the communication is at a low level. But the biggest one I've talked about before because there's so many topics that surround this particular situation. So I brought it up more than once. And that was a friend that I met at the time in high school, or in elementary school, with a private Christian school that we went to. And he actually befriended me. And, when I look back at it, I can see the signs that I recognized later. But he actually walked away from me after doing some really horrible things. And there was even a moment where I had tried to walk away from him, and he begged me, not to walk away. And, I need you. And look at all this time that we've spent. And I fell for it, just for him to be able to be the one to walk away. And there have been a couple of roommate situations, which I think is pretty common, where you're not necessarily friends, but you're roommates, and things are really good at first. It's a new thing, it's a new apartment or house or whatever, and getting to know one another. And then I think that the best way to find out if someone is going to be a friend is live with them. And I think a lot of times that happens in marriages as well. So when you get to see someone's habits and you spend a lot of time with them, do they pay their rent? Do they pay their portion of the bills, et cetera, et cetera? But yeah, I mean, just like Marisa, I've got several stories of this, these friendships that start out well. Now, just like the first one I mentioned, in the ones that I think of as starting out well, I mean, maybe they did, but when the relationship ends, you can always look back. I mean, hindsight is always 20/20. So when you look back, you can kind of see how the person in some cases wasn't really a good friend right from the start. Other times it's just that you get to know someone and realize that, you don't have as much in common as you thought. And that happens. So yeah, that's happened to me, and we don't like that. It's not a fun thing to do, especially when you've known someone for a really long time and you've invested. That was the thing that always got me. I'm not someone that enjoys walking away from someone. I called it, like they have this light switch that they seem to be able to turn on and off, and it doesn't seem to bother them at all. And I'm not like that at all. I get really connected to people. Yeah, I get really connected to people. And of course, you have some acquaintances that you never really get real deep with. That's not what we're talking about here, though. You have those types of relationships. But when I become someone's friend, I would call myself a fairly deep person. I would actually invest the time. So when you spend all that time and investment, it's hard for me to just kind of walk away from all of that. Because then, if you're going to start a new friendship, you're kind of starting off from square one. They getting to know someone new and building the relationship and things like that. It just is. It can be frustrating. So yeah. So I mean, I could probably tell you maybe 5-6 different stories that have this particular result, but we'll leave it there for now. All right. We're going to say hello to Celtic Man, who popped into the chat. Not sure if it's it does say Celtic Man, so I'm assuming it's a male person, but first time I've seen them, but welcome. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping in. All right.
Yeah,
next question.
I wanted to second Glenn, because he had Celtic Man had mentioned Libra Ace SC. He said, I have a strong Libra placement. I just wasn't sure if he was speaking like astrology or if it's some. So yeah, I wanted to go into explaining Celtic Man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too. He says his name is Jamie. So hello, Jamie. Very nice to meet you. Okay, so the next question is, was it something you did or something they did in relation to the folks that from question one, where it was sweet and ended up souring. And we'll go in the same order. Jen, was it something you did, or now you kind of talked about that a little bit, but in general, if you have other stories,
Yeah.
is it something you do, or do you feel like it's something they do for the most part? What do you think?
I can imagine it's been a mixed bag over the years.
Right.
I do think that being a chameleon when I was younger, just trying to fit in, that was kind of the main reason why I didn't really know myself and was just sort of not like mimicking in the sense of trying to fool anyone. It wasn't coming from that kind of a place. It was more trying to figure out who I was and picking up characteristics of other people. I think I still had a baseline of who I was. I wasn't like completely, soulless or identityless, but
Soulless.
and so I can look back now and imagine that I do think people pick up on that because I have with other people. I think I don't even know how to explain it, but I think people can pick up on someone who could potentially be a chameleon, because I had friends that were in my circle, but then we hung out with different groups of people in school. And I'm sure they probably saw from an outside perspective, me changing a little bit who we were around.
Right.
And that could have turned people off. You know what I mean? I do think authenticity really attracts people. So maybe the opposite of that would dispel people. I don't know.
Sure.
And I'm a person that makes mistakes, and I've made some mistakes in the past within friendships and have lost friends. And also, what was the other thing I was going to say? But I think there have been times that. Wait, what was the question again? Was it because of me or because of them? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And then other times that it's been other people that I've had to walk away because it just, for whatever reason, it wasn't good for me. Good example, when I to Mitch, I ended up kind of just disconnecting a lot of people, a lot of friends, especially after I moved. Sort of self-preservation. One was some of the friendships shallow because I had some shallow friendships from my, and some of them were not good relationships. They weren't good friendships. And I realized it through getting out of a toxic marriage and educating myself on narcissism and manipulative people, that whole gambit. I started recognizing telltale signs and friendships that I had that I thought were close. But what was actually going on was they were very one-sided. They were very take, and not a lot of give. I was there for them when they needed me, but when I was going hell, at the end of my marriage, they were nowhere to be found, that kind of a thing. So I just felt for kind of like starting over and having a clean slate, I just made some decisions. I can't, I love these people and I care about them, but I can't have them in my life anymore. And some of them was, I had a couple of friendships from the store that, sort of backstabbed me. Like they knew about what had been going on in the marriage. And then one particular friend ended up helping my ex open the store again and set up. And I found out about it. She didn't talk to me about it. She didn't come to me and share with me, but I just was blown away that we had shared some things with each other in the store, and her son had committed suicide years ago. And we were actually crying together in the store, sharing stuff. And then months down the road, she just completely stabbed me in the back. And it was incredibly painful. It was, and I disconnected from some people because I was like, I can't, if there's more people that are going to do this thing, I just can't. I can't do it. So I just sort of dark on a lot of people. And that now, I don't know if that was the best decision, but at the time, I just really needed to do that. I was in so much pain. I just couldn't, I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, that happens with breakups sometimes, when you have mutual friends, it's kind of like deciding who's going to be friends with who,
Yeah.
It's difficult when there's a
It
breakup,
is.
just for anyone.
Yeah.
But I think, just because I saw the situation, I think that sometimes you have to do that for self-preservation, and
Yes.
it makes sense. It makes sense that this person that you were supposedly connected to, and you explain to them the abuse that you went through, and then they end up helping the very person that you explained to them abused you. Yeah, I completely understand why you would
I was just
want to
floored.
cut ties with that type of person. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah.
We're gonna say hello to Hadley. Came into the chat. I think they are friends with Marisa. Is that right?
He's one of my peeps. Hadley's my boo. He's Hadley Cape Breton. He's a sky watcher. He is a sous chef, and
Oh, okay.
he also works on working on roofs with his folks. He loves to
Awesome.
garden. He's a real sweetheart.
Awesome.
And whenever he does his sky videos, he'll take his cigarette and point things out. We call
Oh,
it
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Hashtag cigarette pointer. Hi, boo.
That's
I
great.
love you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Aw.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, Marisa, you're up next. So, same question for you. Was it something you did? And if you already said something about this with the person, you could talk about anybody. How often is it you? How often is it someone else? Or does it deviate between the two, so to speak?
I think it takes two to tango, and so everybody has their own things to take accountability for. I'm thinking of the friendship that I just lost recently with somebody, not the malignant narcissist, but someone who had helped me through what I went through with the narcissist.
Yeah.
And they've been there for me for the last couple of years. And just not too long ago, I'd say within the last couple of months, they just started to get distanced. And we used to chat on the phone, maybe once or twice a month, have a good, hearty, conversation, not just
Yeah.
casual acquaintance. And, I
Right.
thought there was a closeness there. It was somebody who was older than I, so there was that kind of respect going on. I would listen to what they would say about this or that and take that into consideration. We shared a faith, so that was it's kind of hard when you are friends with someone who is the same faith as you, especially if you're Christian, and you kind of, in the back of your mind, you're holding each other accountable, which is what we're supposed to do, to their conduct, their behavior. And, there's just things that we should do and things we shouldn't do, especially if we share that same faith. And somewhere in the last couple of months, they just kind of slipped off the wagon of friendship and became this. They actually called me up after they had said they wanted to talk to me, wanted to talk on the phone. And I was busy doing this stuff with you, just getting started. And so I didn't get to talk to them that Sunday night that they wanted to talk. And then never got to connect with them after that for a good conversation.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, they called me up. My daughter was still awake, and this is somebody that they would say hello to my daughter, and she knows people's voices and stuff. Yeah, she's autistic, but she knows who I'm talking to, people, and will say hello. So it was that kind of close friendship. I thought, if you're going to be nice to my daughter too, that's that kind of means something.
Yeah.
So I said, well, hey, good to hear you. I'm, pardon me if you hear my daughter, she's just getting ready to get settled down. And this person who normally would just be very caring about my daughter just totally ignored that altogether. Like I hadn't even told them that, hey, she's up, she's awake. That didn't phase her a bit. Normally they would say hello to each other. That just wasn't even like I hadn't even said it. And they proceeded to chew my ass for, I'd say about 2 to 3 minutes straight, not giving me a chance to communicate back, cutting me off, accusing me of things without being specific, not giving me any proof of what they thought they were talking about nothing, and just being angry and telling me they didn't, just this one angry thing after the next. And I'm thinking, this is a lot to say without having any evidence to back up what you're saying. If you want to talk to me when you're not having a behavior and just
Right.
being angry and snapping at me, you know where to
Sure.
find me. And
Yeah.
if not, then I'm glad we were friends when we were. So she just chewed my butt and then hung up on me,
Right.
and wouldn't talk to me after that.
Okay.
So, and what I think is they just, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of mystified. All I'm thinking is maybe they might have thought that they maybe saw me somewhere, or thought I said something that I, clearly didn't say. It was a total surprise that this
Yeah.
person called and came at me with all of this stuff. And now I'm sitting here going, this person had nothing to back up what they were saying and gave me zero chance to explain anything
Yeah.
or to ask them anything. They just had it in their mind. They had me judged and executed. Pow, goodbye. Like I had done something to deserve all of that. So
Yeah.
whatever's going on in their mind, I don't know. But that one kind of hurts. I miss that person. We had good conversations, but if they can turn on you like that, then good riddance. You
Yep.
don't need that. So
Yeah, like I said, it's. I think some people seem to have this light switch they turn on and off. They can be friends with you one minute and then something happens. Who knows? It could be that they heard something from someone else and they don't bother to check with you and see if it's true.
I think that was part of it. And part of it was I had simply done something pertaining to my channel that they may or may not have agreed with me doing.
Okay.
Whatever kind of content, whatever. But,
Yeah.
I wasn't, doing anything illegal. I wasn't violating the terms of service. I wasn't, harassing. There was no reason for anybody to take that level of umbrage at
Right.
whatever I may or may not have produced on my channel at any given time. And it's my channel. I do the content that I feel led to do on my channel, not
Right.
up to anybody else's say so.
Right.
So this person kind of acted like, well, if I did this or said that, or then that was a violation against them personal. They took it personally when it was not intended at all to them. On top of accusing me of being in this place or that place and saying this or that or doing this or that. It was just a big hodgepodge of nonsense.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
goodbye. If that's the best they can do after 3 years of what I thought was good friendship, then bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marisa. What about you, Glenn?
Yeah, well, it's a layered question. I don't really live in a place that people that I or other people tend to. Where's the question? Just trying to find it. They actually did anything.
Right.
I don't think there's any preconceived idea. I'm going to do something to hurt you. I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that. I think a lot of this stuff comes from misinterpretations.
Yeah.
And misunderstandings and jumping to conclusions, all of those things, and then not being willing when they're called to account to explain themselves.
Right.
I think it's a bit like Nez said. I agree with her.
Yeah.
Because sometimes these things happen, and you're just so shocked. Where out of left field did all this come from?
Yeah.
You've got no idea. It doesn't gel. This person has sort of morphed into another person, and what?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're in your head, and all you're looking for is information and some sort of clarification. It's not that you want to walk off. It's all you're doing is. I don't think any of us that I've seen are people that just walk away from relationships at the drop of a hat. I think we do anything that is conceivably possible to try to repair it or put ourselves out there so that people can discuss it, and let's see where we can go with this.
Yeah.
So I think this judgment and conclusions is a right pain in the backside, but
Yeah.
it just it confuses me. But look, at the end of the day, if people accept you for what they are, or that, great. If they don't, well, that's it. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can go.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with what you're saying as well. And while you were talking, I'm thinking about all these misunderstandings, and nobody checks to make sure, and it can happen in a group of friends as well. As I was thinking about, I in the past I have been on other people's channels, and a lot of them are ministry related and things like that. And I was very happy to be part of a group that I thought was different than some of the other ministries that I've seen. I've seen a lot of backbiting and division and things like that. And no, this was something that didn't seem to be a whole lot of division, and it seemed like people were graceful towards one another. And these were friendships that were important to me. These were an investment, like for 2 years. Twice a week we'd do these broadcasts together and things like that. And the one that I'm thinking of happened because there was a rift. It wasn't even a rift with me. It was a rift with at the time, a mutual friend. And these people turned on someone else that I was in a relationship with. And they're like, well, they're expecting me to turn my back on this other person. And I refused to do it. He didn't do anything to me. They didn't do anything to me. And then it got really bad to the point where one person was doing broadcasts against this friend and saying these horrible untruths about them. And I had done broadcasts with that person as well, so that had to end, because I'm not gonna support other people that I know are spreading lies about someone else. So it very much fits this idea that you were talking about, Glenn. These misunderstandings and things that nobody takes the time to air these things out and discuss it. I mean, in my opinion, the best thing to do would be go to that person privately. And this was all done publicly, like in front of everyone. People not knowing what's going on and discussing these things. And it was a very quote unquote public breakup. Yes, it's happened to me. And sometimes it's someone else. And it's not that I'm looking for blame or fault, but, because I'm willing to work with other people, I'm willing to talk it out. I'm willing to go to any length to try to work something out with the person, because I don't want to walk away. It's not my desire. It's not my tendency. Sometimes relationships are hard, and that means having a hard conversation. I'm happy to have the hard conversation, because I have seen that when you have the hard conversation and get through to the other end of it, it has a tendency to make your relationship stronger than it was before the rift. So if both people are willing, or the group of people are willing to get together and air these things out, it can strengthen your bond. So I would tend to go for that than I would be for walking away. But sometimes, as Glenn said, sometimes it is just the way it is. I mean, you can't make someone talk to you about what went wrong. You just can't do that. People can make their own decisions. So that's a good question. All right. Everyone answer that one? I think they did. All right. The next one: how do you know when to walk away from a friendship? And we'll start with Marisa on this one. How do you know when to walk away from a friendship? What are
When
the
they're
warning?
a malignant, abusive narcissist or any kind of toxic person,
Mhm.
when they turn into somebody that you thought was your friend and have transformed into somebody who is clearly demonstrating by their words and their actions that they are not.
Yeah.
Or they are hanging out with people that can't stand you and enjoying the company of those people.
Oh, right.
goodness.
Lied and harassed and this and that and done and said all kinds of negative regarding you.
Yeah.
But they're hanging out with all of those people. That kind of tells me, yeah, that's somebody that doesn't need to be around me. And, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Right.
That's just, I'm not trying to tell people what to do or where to go, but you're not going to hang out with people who have it in for me or my family.
Right.
And then come around and act like, hey, how you doing? Well, no, I've seen where you at. Bye. Go hang with your friends.
Right.
Ta-ta.
Yeah, and that seems to happen on YouTube as well. I mean, not even in groups that I'm involved with, but I watch a lot of different channels, and you hear these rumblings of, oh well, he did something on another channel and said this about that person, and now they're fighting, and like what you were saying, Marisa, these people, choose sides and they do videos about each other. Oh, they said
Yeah.
this and they did that, and oh my gosh, it's
Well,
like
that's my trolls all over. Yeah, they make videos about me and my other people, and it's just nonsense. You
Yeah.
don't need people like that who do that, make that kind of content, and you don't need people around you who support and are entertained by that kind of content. I mean, don't call yourself my friend and go hang with that crowd. And that's where I feel it's okay to just say, you know what, even though you didn't do anything to me, you're surrounded by my enemy in their camp. So
right, exactly.
go have fun with them. See you later.
Yeah. Thank you, Marisa. Little Lady says sometimes it's best to walk away, let time heal the pain or anger. We all go through changes as time goes by. I would agree with that. That's a good comment. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. What about you, Jennifer? How do you know when it's time to walk away from friendship? What do you think?
I think actions and how they treat indicator onto when to walk away. Because people can say a lot. Sometimes people say horrible things, and you're like, okay, peace out. But sometimes people don't match how they treat you. So sometimes that is an indicator to just let it go.
Yeah.
I've experienced, I guess, like a amount of people that in my past where the friendships were very lopsided,
Right.
And there's a lot of taking and a lot of, calling when they need stuff or they need a vent or, that kind of stuff. And then it's just not reciprocated. And that's unfortunate. And I actually had one friend who gossiped a lot. And I hate to admit this, but for a time it was kind of, because we grew up in the same town, it was kind of entertaining. No, it's not good. But I started thinking, okay, I've shared some personal stuff with this person and they're sharing some personal stuff about other people. Like, what guarantee do I have that she's not sharing things with other people that I've shared with her? And that became sort of a red flag. I was like, oh no. And even entertaining the gossip, it's just not good. It's not gossip about people. Right. By listening, it's enabling, and if I ended up gossiping about someone, people, I feel like a good friend of mine, I would at least want a good friend of mine to call me out on it. Hey, this isn't coming, it's just not good,
Right.
In a loving manner.
Yeah.
So actions speak louder than words, for sure. And I've had to, assess old friendships and be like, okay, is this healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when it's lopsided, I just have had to walk away. So that would be my answer. And good answer, Marisa. I liked what you had to say.
Yeah. So I'll go next and I'll use what both of you said. So Maurice was talking about if someone's abusive, if they're a narcissist, blah, blah, blah. Those are in your face sort of things. And yeah, I would agree that I don't have any patience for that. I have plenty of patience for someone that they might be struggling with personality things, or maybe the friendship's a little bit different than other ones they've had, and they just have never learned how to do certain things or say things or be as open as I like to see people be. Plenty of patience toward that person. If they're willing to learn, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to go through that with them. And then, what Jen's saying, gossip is a big one. And I like that. If you're hearing someone gossip about someone else, it's a good sign that if they're gossiping about someone else, then they're likely going to be willing to gossip about you and say things about you. So that's a good one. Celtic Man mentioned gaslighting. He says, I'll just pop it up here real quick. There's a couple comments here. He says, and if someone never says that to you, then that sounds like gaslighting too. That was to Glenn. The comment that he made before that, it's important for the well-being and to pick wisely your circles and keep them small. Yeah, that can be true as well. So thank you for that. And then let's see, I think that was the one I saw. Okay, yeah. So I think that anything you see that makes you super uncomfortable when you see these patterns, I mean, for me, it's just, I'm not looking for it. Like, I'm not getting into a relationship saying, okay, I'm trying to find a escape hatch. You know, I'm not going into the relationship looking for reasons to dip. I'm just not that way. But I have said for a long time, if you give someone long enough, they'll tell you who they are. They will. If you're paying attention,
Exactly.
they will
Yeah.
show you. It all comes out in the end. I have learned that over the past 6 or 7 years. Before that, I mean, I had real life friendships, you know, people that I knew in person. And then I've done this online discovered YouTube back in 2017. I mean, I had looked at it occasionally before that, but, you know, discovering new truths about the world. And, you know, I think I had maybe 250 Facebook friends before that, before 2017, 2018. And then I just friended all these people that were, you know, investigating all these things that I was discovering. And it went up to like 550 or something like that. And a lot of them I've hardly ever talked to. I just went and someone sent me a friend list of all these people that were researching the same things as me. And I'm like, friend. I mean, I had this desire to get all this information, which is fine. I mean, but I honestly, I haven't had a conversation with more than probably 30 of those people that are on my friends list. It doesn't bother me or anything. It's just, I guess I'm just making the point that sometimes real life friendships can be easier to manage than the online ones, because have you ever met a person or talked to them face to face? I mean, they can pretend like they're nice. They can pretty much say whatever they want. They can make you think that they're a good person, and they're not at all. Welcome to Janet, who popped in.
Hey, Janet.
Yeah, she says, Sleepyhead woke up and says, goodbye, all. This friend thing has been painful to me this year. While I try to be brave and strong, it hurts when friends ignore that you are being harassed online. For me, well, Janet, I'm sorry that's happened to you. Yeah, that's horrible to be harassed online. I certainly wasn't aware that you were going through that. I hope that ends. You certainly are in a safe place here. Not one person in the chat or on the panel is ever going to harass you. We just love you and we appreciate you so much. So I'm sorry that's happening. I think it's wonderful to call you a friend. You've been a friend of the channel for a long time. And you're actually in our nightly prayers. I'm not sure you're aware of that. And it's not a bragging thing at all. It's just that we know that you go through a lot of physical pain, and you're on our list. So we'll add that to the prayer list for the harassment part. Harassment is just not fun. I mean, it's just a horrible thing, and I cannot believe that people actually can spend the time to do that. And it seems
and supposed Christians too.
Supposed Christians.
Exactly.
And it seems like it's easier to do online because you're not. There are things that people say to others online that they would never say to a person to their face. They just wouldn't.
Exactly.
So
cowards
there's like
is what
this.
they are.
Yeah, they are cowards, and it's like this electronic or digital bravery that seems to take place. You know, like, well, I can say this online and it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. Just because you're not in person, you're not seeing the person face to face, it doesn't mean that it's not hurtful. I mean, I'm sorry, Janet. We've all experienced that to some extent, but either way, it's not good. And if you want me to go beat people up, just let me know. I'll, or stop in and tell people to leave you alone. I'd be happy to do that too. No. Janet says, I hope I have not taught you anything negative. No. I don't know what that's. Oh. Okay. So Janet says it's the once saved, always saved, and non-war. So sad. Yeah. So, the fighting over doctrine is not a good thing. There's one doctrine in my mind that's important, and that's in believing at what Jesus did, that he died for our sins and rose again. Believing and trusting in that is the only thing at the end of the day that's important. It's the thing that saves us. It's the thing that gives us eternal life. If a person believes that, once they're saved, truly saved, they're always saved, that's great. And if they don't believe that, we'll all find out in the end which is true. But to get into arguments and harass people about that is, in my opinion, not a good thing. It's not worthy of time being spent. To spend time on the gospel, talking about the gospel, I think that does deserve time. But we don't need to be having these doctrinal battles all the time. Yeah, I'm sorry that that's still happening, Janet. I'm fully aware that people argue. I mean, we could expand this whole thing if we're talking about doctrine and people that disagree about stuff like that. I mean, I have lost a lot of quote unquote friends online because of disagreements, and it just amazes me. I wish that people could agree to disagree. You guys have heard me talk about this many times. I mean, just because you don't agree with someone, it doesn't mean you can't be friends with them. I mean, I keep using this for an example. Glenn and I and Jen, we don't agree on everything, but we still are able to get along. And I keep bringing up my friend Marcus, who politically we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And, we've had these conversations, these political conversations for decades and decades. And in the past, sometimes they get a little heated. They're way less heated now because, I've come to the point where it's two sides of the same coin for me, and he's still on the other side. That's fine. I can let someone else have their opinion and it'd be okay with me. So I wish that more people would do that and not argue. We'll be praying, Janet. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's see. Did I answer the question? How do you know when to walk away? I think I did. Yeah, I got kind of distracted there, but I think just watching the signs and just like Jen was talking about the barometer, we all have an internal barometer, I believe, if we're paying attention to it, that, if we're feeling uncomfortable about a situation, if you don't feel safe, if you feel like they're harassing you or gossiping about you, if they're being abusive, I mean, that's an easy sign to walk away. So we'll go with that. Okay, so in this whole thing, I don't remember who didn't answer the question. I think Marisa and
I don't
Jen.
think Glenn did.
Okay, Glenn, you're up last on this one. How do you know when to walk away from a friendship?
Yeah, okay. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I think I said what I said in chat. If they don't trust me, I'd be saying to them, "Well, you shouldn't be here."
Right.
For a start. So if you don't trust me, why should I be here?
Right. Exactly.
What's the point? So that's the other thing is I don't do the anger thing. I don't do the pain thing because people can say, as you're aware, people can say whatever they like about me. I don't care.
Right.
But if they want to sit and take the time to explain what's their gripe, I'll 100% listen to them. And if I think they've got a valid point, I'll be the first one to say, "Yep, I'll own it. I apologize."
Yeah.
But, so I think it's real simple. I think you've got to allow yourself to be vulnerable in order to have people declare themselves. It's like I said in chat, it's the boundaries thing. You come up with all these boundaries, people will clam up. Give them free run. Let them. You'll get to the end result a lot quicker, whether they're genuine or whether they're not. Give them free. Give them the head. Give them free reign. Let them go and be themselves as much as possible. Yeah, piece of cake.
Yeah.
And if it's time to walk, you walk. That's. But I don't like walking without saying, look, this is just not working. I don't like walking and cutting people off, just like blank. I think that's ignorant and bad manners. I think I would say to them, look, I can't deal with this for these reasons, and now I'm going to leave. Bye-bye. But at least I would tell them.
Yeah.
Do this abandonment thing.
Sure. So,
yeah, there's the answer.
Thank you. That's great, Glenn. So I posted, so Glenn said in the chat, if someone says, quote, I don't trust you, end quote, then that's pretty much a deal breaker. Where do you go with that? I mean, there's not many places you can go if the person doesn't trust you at all and you're aware of that. And then also Glenn mentioned, I try not to put up boundaries. People tend to declare their true selves if you give them the chance. I agree with that. I know we don't agree fully on the whole boundary thing. I think for the most part we do. You know, I've talked a lot about my mom's boundaries. They had barbed wire on them that she made it. She had, but you know, you don't know what a person has gone through. You don't know if they feel like they need the boundaries in order to survive. So I try not to be judgmental about that either. I may not put as much, you know, Jen and I talk about this all the time. I don't think we have any boundaries with each other because we don't cross any lines, because we have open communication. We trust one another. So I don't feel a need to say, you know, you cannot do this to me, because she doesn't do things like that. And I don't do those things to her. So with her, I am delighted to know that I don't have to set up all these protective layers, these defenses, these walls. I would rather live in an open situation where I don't have to have any walls up or any boundaries. I definitely agree with that part, Glenn, as far as boundaries are concerned. So there you go. Okay, so we got everyone answered that one. Okay, and the next one is how have you responded when someone has walked away from you? I like this question, so I'm going to go first on this one. How have I responded? That has changed over the years. So the one that I talked about, that I was in my 20s when that happened, and it had been someone that I had known since I was like 9 years old. So this was in my mid to late 20s. I carried that first one. Now I look at it now and I realize that I'm glad that it happened when it did, because I did learn from how that felt. But I carried that around with me for a long time, the pain of it. I hadn't dealt with it. I at first was, you know, trying to do reconciliation. I was hoping that he would come to his senses. This is before I understood, you know, the red flags and the warning signs of narcissism, and before I really looked at the past and could see clearly that he was never a good friend. He was never supportive. You know, you guys have mentioned, you know, when someone needs you, you're always there for them, and then when you need someone else, they're nowhere to be seen. That was this guy. I mean, whenever he needs something, you know, I was right there. You know, what can I do? You know, that was my end. Now, to be honest, at that time, I very rarely needed anything from him. But when I did, when I needed that person the most, that's when he walked away from me. You know, I just couldn't handle that. So earlier on, I would say I didn't deal very well with it. I would say that in new relationships, I had carry this fear around with me that, well, you know, why should I start a new friendship if I'm going to invest all this time in it, and they can just walk away. They can just shut the light off. I had conversations with other people about this shutting the light off thing. It's like, it was a concept that I had thought of that just meant a lot to me. And I was just looking at people as whether they were the type of person I thought could just shut the light out on a friendship. I mean, it really affected me. It really, really did for a long time. Now I'm completely over it. If I ran into this guy in a convenience store or something, I would be kind to him. I'm not starting any relationship with him or friendship, but if he wanted to have a cup of coffee and talk about old times, I'd be more than happy to do that. Sure. But I'm not expecting anything to come of it, and I'm not angry. I'm not hurt anymore. But that one affected me. Now, ones after that, because that one happened, when people walked away, I had already gone through the hurt of that. So when other people did it, roommate situations and breakups and whatever else, I mean, it's like they say about a breakup. The first one's the hardest, generally speaking, and then after that, it gets a little bit easier. You get accustomed to how it feels when a relationship ends, and that's kind of what happened with me. At this point, I don't make any friends with anyone that's unhealthy. I really don't. I don't have a single, I mean, other than acquaintances on Facebook that I've never talked to. But as far as real life relationships, I can honestly say that anyone that I call my friend is a real friend. And so I would handle it way better now. Obviously, I'm matured over time. Hopefully everyone matures over time, and I would deal with it very differently if it happened today. I think just that's the last thing I'll say about this. If someone did that today, I would just be like, okay, well, enjoyed our time and wish the best to you. Hope you do well in your life. Just wish them the best. Because, if someone walks away from me, that's their loss. It's not my loss. I'm not saying that in a vindictive way. I'm just saying that, it's better to stick with people that can see you and appreciate you for who you are. And I have a handful of people that are like that. And I would much rather invest my time with those folks, present company included. So yeah, we'll just leave it there. We'll do the men first next. So we'll go to Glenn on this one. When this has happened, how have you responded when someone has walked away from you, Glenn, if that has ever happened? I think you're muted.
Sorry, no, I'm here. My mouse was going a bit slow. How I responded?
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
You Aussies, and your easy way to just say goodbye, nothing else.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to
Explain
chase
yourself.
after them. I'm not going to say, come back. No, what I would say is, the door's open if you want to come back. I'm not closing you off.
Right.
But I'm saying if you've decided to leave, well, bye-bye. See you later. What is the point of me dwelling on it?
Yeah.
No, there's no point. Just wasted my energy. I can do something way more constructive. If they come back, then you be conciliatory and generous, and see and have, as you would say, the open door policy. See where it goes.
Yeah.
You don't, I think too many people get a bee in their bonnet and say, I'll never talk to that person again. Well, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
People can change. People do change. Sometimes they'll come back with cap in hand and wish to make reparation. Well, what kind of a person would turn them away? Certainly not me.
No.
So
That's actually, yeah. Thank you, Glenn. That's actually happened with me. I had he's passed on now, but I had a friend that we were friends for a long time, and there was a rift, and we didn't talk to each other for a long time. And he actually sought me out, came to where I was working, and apologized for things he had done in the past. So it does happen. It does happen, and we rebonded our friendship and stuff, and we would probably still be friends today if he hadn't died. It was about 10 years ago that he passed on. So I'll never know how that would have turned out. But yeah, came and apologized, and I thought that was wonderful. And I thought he was being a real man to admit that he had done some wrong things, and I took responsibility for my stuff, and there we go. Okay, so the guys went, and we'll start with Marisa next. How have you responded when someone's walked away from you, Marisa?
Oh boy, it's been a variety of ways. When I didn't know any better at first, when say the big breakup with the narcissist happened, and people that I suddenly and people who had stuck by me through that initially for a while, and then after a while suddenly turned and walked away, and quite surprisingly, that was very painful, and I bucked against some of it. Like, what are you doing? Why? You know what I went through. Why are you turning on me now? It was very hard for me to. I didn't understand then that if they're going to leave you after supposedly knowing you for a good long time and knowing your experience, then they weren't worth having around if they were going to turn on you.
Yeah.
So it can be very painful. Just like this last one that happened, what Glenn said, yeah, you just, if you want to go, go. And, hey, thank you. I'm glad you were there when you were there. And I didn't lock the door. I never said don't come back or I'm never talking to you again. If they want to come back and talk about it, they know where to find me.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with Glenn there.
There you go. Thank you, Marisa. We'll say hello to my buddy John Dons. Now, there's another example of someone that I've known since the mid 80s. And I would say that he and I would argue from time to time, but I don't remember. You'd have to say, John, if you remember any huge rifts that we had. I don't. I just remember we argued openly, and that's actually better.
Yep.
When you can just argue with someone and get it all worked out and stuff. I
At
don't.
least that's communication. At least it's something.
Right. Exactly. And I don't remember any big, periods of time. I mean, he lives in California, so we don't talk all the time. But if he ever came into town, I would love to see him, and he would probably say the same thing. I do wish he lived closer because he's one of the best pool players I know, and I love playing pool, and so does he. So when we would hang out, we would always go play pool. So. Yeah, I missed that. So, all right. So, Jen, what about you?
Question?
How did you know, or sorry, how have you responded when someone has walked away from you?
Back in the day, I used to obsess over it, honestly, like ruminate.
Oh yeah.
I think there were times where I tried to prove myself.
Yeah.
Reignite the friendship. But more times than not, I definitely took it as a personal hit. That there was something wrong with me, and maybe there was. but recently I had a friend that I made at the last job I had, and I reached out a couple times over Marco Polo, and she never responded, and we just kind of drifted. And I'm not sure if the friendship was a good fit, and
right.
I'm fine with that, and yeah. I've gotten more solidified in the idea of, if someone doesn't, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. Whereas, the younger version of me just really didn't take it well. Yeah. Sure. So that's my answer.
Sure. Well, the friend you're talking about, they just kind of dropped off the map and unfriended, not just unfriended you, but just dropped off of Facebook altogether.
Oh, no. Did they?
Yeah.
You're talking about Cassie?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I had seen that her account, and this has been over a year ago, though.
That's
she
true.
may be back on there now, but it just, and it wasn't any rift that happened. They came over the house and it wasn't any rift. But she had said to you she had felt kind of inferior in the friendship felt like you were deeper than her. I think she had made comments like that to you. So that may not have been anything you did, or maybe she felt like it wasn't right. Like
Yeah.
if the other person feels inferior, they might tend to walk away from the relationship on their own.
Yeah.
Because they feel bad. I don't know. And sometimes it's just the person. So the person doesn't feel comfortable in friendships. They don't know how to do it, and that's okay. It's not a reflection on you, but the thing that you said, ruminate about that's what I did with that first one. I mean, we're talking 20 years. I mean, I used to lay in bed awake at night sometimes thinking up scenarios like, how would I react? And there were times that I would have been angry. I've been like, how dare you do what you did? And there were other times that I was, like apologetic. I said, if I did anything, because this was not an open and shut thing. It was kind of obscure. I mean, he had some things that he blamed me for sure, but things he blamed me for were a result of things that he had done. So, but now it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. John knows this guy, Chuck, and they didn't get along either. So John, I just have to tell this quick story. So, Chuck is an Italian or Sicilian person. And when we were hanging out, this is back in the late 80s. Chuck didn't like John. Back then we called him Rob, but he didn't like him. And Rob knew that, and Rob didn't care that Chuck didn't like him. And he had this joke book, and so he would read these Italian jokes out of this joke book, and it almost came to blows. I mean, he was very sensitive about ethnic jokes, Chuck was, and I just have to say that I just laughed, and I love that he's getting under Chuck's skin. I don't know, there might be something I need to look at in that about why I was enjoying watching Rob get under his skin. I'll have to think more about that. But yeah, so there you go. All right. The next section, I used to have huge issues when people didn't take to me like I wanted them to. I'd meet someone and imagine we'd become best friends, only to see them grow a deeper friendship with another one of my friends instead of me. I look back now and I wonder if me not knowing myself and being a chameleon was what turned people off. In other words, when I was not being authentic, fully embracing the person I was and who I want to be. So in relation to that, the first question is, do you think people can tell when you aren't being authentic? And we'll start with Jen. What do you think people can tell when you're not being authentic?
I think so. I'm trying to think of a way to describe how it feels when I see someone else that I not being authentic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a feeling. Yeah. Honestly, you're not in their head, so how can you fully know?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think it depends. I think it depends. I think you can, but there's that's a mixed bag answer. Sorry.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. What do you think, Marisa? Can you tell if someone's not being authentic?
Well, if I was that good at it, I wouldn't have had the run-ins with so many narcissists over my life. But
right.
I'd like to think that I've made some improvement in that area. Certainly, I think whether you realize it or not, and it isn't necessarily in our control, but it's just a spiritual thing. If we're lying, if we are under false pretense, or such as that, if we're coming off in a way that isn't genuine for whatever the reason, that's a feeling. You can feel that. I've felt that off of people, and certainly there has to be people out there that can feel that off of you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back in my adult life when I've been, on what occasions was I knowingly not genuine? And I would say the majority of those times happened when I was in an abusive relationship. And that would be because you're really not allowed to be yourself when you're in that dynamic.
Right.
And did they know? Did those people know? I don't know. If they were abusive and toxic and narcissistic, they didn't give a shit what I was feeling. They didn't care if I was being genuine or not. They just cared about getting what they wanted off of me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if those people notice, but I think if you are willfully being not genuine, I think it can be palpable and people can sense that.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll answer next on this one because I have a quick, hopefully a quick story of this happened earlier in life. So I was in high school and I moved to Michigan and went to a different school. I've talked about that before. I had left Heritage, the Jim and Tammy Baker School, when all the stuff came out, what they had done, and I didn't want to graduate from there. So I quit 3 months away from graduation, and I went to live with my grandparents in Gladwin, Michigan, and I redid my senior year, and I'm glad that I did it. I have no regrets about having done that. I met a lot of good people and I enjoyed it and all of that. But in doing this, I had gone to school with pretty much the same people for a long time, people that I knew. We'd even gone to a separate Christian school. And when people started making the move from the one we were at before over to PTL or Heritage School, a lot of them came over. A lot of the same people that I started with elementary school or went to this other school. So I had plenty of friends there that I knew. But when I went to Gladwin, I knew a few people, that I had remembered when I was a kid and lived there. But for the most part, it was a new experience for me. And I was in one of my classes was a music class. People played instruments and choir and sang songs and stuff. It was an elective that I chose. And I was trying to make friends. Now, I had never done this before. I don't remember ever doing anything like this, but there was a group of guys that were talking about that they're in a band. And they asked me if I played any instruments. Now, before I say what I did, the answer to do I play any instruments was no. That was the answer. But I lied. I lied and said that I played bass. And they're like, oh, we need a bass player. So this lie quickly, from its inception, quickly got out of control. And I should have just said I was joking, and it probably would have been the end of it. They probably would have forgiven me for just saying, yeah, I play bass and I'm just joking. But I kept it up, and they say, oh, next time you come, bring your bass. Well, I didn't know how to play bass, and I didn't own a bass. There was no bass at all. So I said, well, I left my bass in North Carolina, or South Carolina, where I'm from, where I am now. And so occasionally this one guy, he wouldn't let it go. I would come to class and he'd say, hey, when are you going to get your bass? And I said, well, I sent for it, it should be here. And this went on for half a year. And finally, I just got tired of this guy harassing me about it. And I admitted that I lied. And the fallout from that lasted the rest of the school year. Whenever this guy would see me or the couple of people that knew I had lied about it, there's disdain and chuffs and just and I understand I lied. I misrepresented. I was not being authentic, and they couldn't tell right away, but it came out. And I learned a lesson from that. Now, after that, I don't ever remember lying, misrepresenting myself again. I mean, I think sometimes we all do it in little ways when we're younger, but no. In fact, now I'm at the point where if someone says, hey, do you know this YouTube channel? Sometimes you'll say, oh, yeah, I've seen that. I'll say no. No, I've never heard of that. Or did you hear this song? No, I haven't heard it. We do that sometimes to, just to be part of something or to feel included and things like that. But no, I don't do that. So can they tell? I think sometimes they can. I guess it depends on how good of a liar you are. And I wasn't that. I mean, I dragged it on longer than I needed to, but I really did learn a lesson from that, and a lesson that has stayed with me to this day. So I guess that's a good thing that I learned from it, but I never should have done it in the first place. My desire now is to always be authentic, even if someone doesn't like you because you don't have the same likes and desires that they have. If you don't fit in with what they want you to fit in with. Janet says, I want him to play bass anyway. LOL. Glenn says, Cripps, what other porkies are you telling them? If I lied about that, what else am I lying about? Yeah, it's a good question, Glenn. No other porkies. No other porkies. Did everyone, Glenn, do you think people can tell when you aren't being authentic? What do you think?
I think I can tell pretty well, but I'm also susceptible to being tricked because of my attitude of trust first until they show me a reason not to trust. So I can get tricked, but look, I just say if people want to trick me, well, and they're prepared to put that energy in, well, who cares? Okay, well, doesn't change my life.
Right.
That's their issue, not mine. Yeah. So yeah, I'm susceptible to it, but it doesn't. It hardly ever happens. I can't think of many occasions. So I think just maybe being blunt and straight up has its advantages than doing BS.
Well, you answered the second question. So the next question, the first question was, do you think people can tell when you aren't being authentic? And the next question is, can you tell when someone else isn't being authentic?
Well, I'm not. I hope I'm not being unauthentic at any time.
Right. So your whole life, then, you've just always been a straight shooter, you think?
Oh no, I've done the porky pies.
We want to hear a story, Glenn. Tell us.
Oh, geez, no. I don't want to. You're asking me to go into the depths of darkness.
No.
So,
True,
but yeah,
Glenn's not going there.
Right.
I think, like you, Cripps, I think you realise it gets you into trouble, so you just tend to.
It does. Yeah.
You give it away after a while, because if you get caught short, you really got a lot of egg on your face.
Oh, I did. It was miserable. I mean, that class, which I initially liked, every time I would go in there, I was like, please don't. And sometimes we were busy doing other stuff, and he didn't ask me, and I was glad. But yeah, my heart used to start beating, and I had all this anxiety. Oh, just please leave me alone about the damn bass. But I did it to myself, and there was no reason for me to be upset with anybody else. I did that. I caused that whole thing. Okay, so Glenn answered the second one. The next question is, can you tell when someone else isn't being authentic? What do you think, Jen? Can you tell?
Your question.
What's that?
I said you already asked me. Oh, I answered already.
Okay. All right, Marisa, can you tell when someone else isn't being authentic?
I feel like I answered this one already, but
okay, we'll move on. We'll move on. Does that make you want to get to know them better? When someone's not being authentic, does that give you a desire to know them better, Marisa?
Oh God, no. Especially now. Maybe, maybe in my younger years when that doesn't seem so important, but now, no, I have zero time for that.
Yeah. Well, my answer is going to be quick, the same. I mean, that story that I didn't get invited to any of the parties that those gentlemen were in. I didn't get invited to any keggers or anything. Maybe that's a good thing, but no, it didn't. They didn't want to get to know me better. On my end, no. I can put up with someone lying about something small, but if I find out they're not being authentic purposefully, I mean, it's a different thing if they're just a person that doesn't know how to fully be themselves, or if they're younger and they just don't know who they are. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with that as they're growing up. They don't know who they are. You have people in their, late teens, early 20s that, when they're going to college and they don't even know what their major is going to be, like that. I mean, I'm not going to hold that against someone, but yeah, generally speaking, it doesn't make me want to have a deeper relationship if I think that someone's not being authentic. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make me want to continue a friendship. My curiosity gets piqued.
Yeah.
Due to my own issues in the past, I do wonder why someone is hiding.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily make me feel safe or trusting.
Right.
Like you said, if I can understand if it's something small and that person comes in, shares it and we talk about it, whatever. But if they're hiding their motives or true nature of who they are, I as of right now, I'm like, bye.
Right.
I get that.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jen. All right. What about you, Glenn? Does that make you, when you find out someone's not being authentic, does that make you want to get to know them better? I can guess your answer.
It's not such an easy one.
Oh.
Not authentic in what way, I'd be saying. Like, if they, yeah. I think I would do what I needed to do to confirm what I'd been shown, and if that did confirm it, I'd be saying no, out of here.
Right.
But look, I think if I find someone's deliberately lying to me, I mean that, and being misrepresenting things and stuff like that, I don't have time for that garbage.
Right.
So no, thank you.
Well, the next question, and we'll stay with you, Glenn, on this next one. So the next one is, does that make you want to know? Do you walk away? Do you spend time with them? Ask some hard questions to discern their true intentions. Now, it's that last one that I see you doing sometimes, that you would want to know, to try to discern what the person was on about. Like, what's underneath them lying or not being authentic. What would be underneath that? Is that right? Would you try to ask hard questions to determine their true intentions?
Well, I'd like to give someone the opportunity to clarify anything that I may be confused about, because I just don't like knee-jerk reacting and saying,
right.
We said in the previous questions, I'm on my bike, I'm out of here. No, I don't really warm to that. But I think it's hard. You've got to find the balance between being open enough and willing to go where you need to go, but also being to know where the line is.
Yeah.
So I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And every situation is so individual.
Right.
It's hard to put a notation on it. So
right.
I just play it by ear.
Yeah.
Because I know that no matter what that person says and how nasty they might end up, they can't hurt me. I'm not vulnerable to it.
Right.
So that they can call me whatever they like. But
sure.
So what? It's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing essentially to lose by putting out the olive branch and see where that goes. Yeah.
Well, thank you. You did not disappoint me. Not that you mind if you do, but you didn't disappoint me. I'll answer really quickly on that one. The part I like about Jen's question is that asks some hard questions to discern their true intentions. That one, I am that type of person. So if I felt like someone was being authentic, I would want to dig a little deeper and try to figure out, why are they not being authentic? I'm a curious person and I want to know. Now, there have been some people in the past when I find out they're lying. I mean, there have been people that I've met that just seem to lie about everything. I don't have any interest in that. But if there's one thing that they seem to be hiding behind, I might do that. I might ask some hard questions to determine, what's going on with this person. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just I'm very interested in people just in general. So when that was happened, like Glenn was saying, you do have to kind of look at each situation as being separate from another, because people are different. So where
Yeah.
one person might lie and you might just say, "Oh, I'm done with you," another person, you might catch them not being authentic, and you might wonder, "So wait a minute, this doesn't match up with other parts of them." And people are complex. I mean, for the most part, some people are
Yeah.
complex. Let me say it like that. So they might be authentic in other areas, and usually that's the case, where someone is a jerk in one area, but they have other areas where they're nice and they have good qualities. Those are the hardest ones, in my opinion. Those are the hardest people to determine
Yes.
what their true intent is. And some people are really good at that. They're really good at hiding, like
Compartmentalizing.
one, yeah, compartmentalize. That's exactly the word, compartmentalizing. And for me, when I run into that, I'm like a detective. I'm like, okay, let's try to figure this out. And I don't know why I'm like that. I just am. I want to get to the bottom of it. Like I was talking about rifts earlier. When there's a rift, I want to talk it out. Gosh, I just want that so much. Let's talk about what happened. Let's work it out. In the situation I'm talking about, I even set up on our channel. I set up a broadcast to try to get these people together, and they actually, in one of the situations, they actually did. It was like a 3-hour broadcast where they're airing out all their doctrinal stuff. I think it's still on the channel somewhere. But at the end of the day, it didn't do anything. I mean, just a lot of talk, and it didn't solve anything. But I am okay trying to, if I can work it out with the person or solve whatever the issue is, or get to the bottom, find out what their true intentions are. I'm going to invest the time to do it. What do you think, Jen?
Well, one thing I was going to say is, when I wrote that particular question, I had Glenn in mind, and it was more along the lines of not necessarily like outright lying,
Right.
but just someone that is hiding part of themselves. Because I've maybe not even knowing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Glenn's really good at helping someone maybe see something in themselves that they're not aware of.
Right.
Right. So yeah, it does. I agree with Glenn. Every situation is different. It just kind of depends on what happened and how the person's reacting. And, sometimes it's dependent on the time invested,
Sure. Yeah. For me, it is.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Just because it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I definitely, it's weird. I have two parts. I have one old part of me that just wants to run away from conflict.
Yeah.
And then this other part of me, like you, that's, wants everything to be okay, wants to work toward that.
Yeah.
But also, hear a person out and try to talk through and reconcile. And sometimes that, but the friendship still is done,
Yeah.
Right. So it definitely depends on the situation and where you're at,
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Jen. That's a good answer. Marisa, you're last on this one. Do you ask some hard questions and try to get underneath the mask there, figure out what's going on with the person?
I agree with all of you and say that it depends on the situation. If people are like what just happened with me recently, the last person to run away screaming, hollering things at me and then slamming the door and running away, I have no desire to chase after them. And I mean, I still want to know what in the world happened. I think, like you said earlier tonight, that a lot of these things happen because of miscommunication or misinformation, or people think they have a fact, or they think they have something right that you might have said or might have done, or they're perceiving something to be true when they're not giving you the chance to tell them what your take on all of it is. They're just coming in. I judge you this and that, and you said this and you did that, and I'm out here. Bye. That doesn't give you any chance to communicate. That doesn't give you any chance to hash things out or have a proper, rational adult discussion. That's that's nonsense and childish, and
Right.
I think that pretty much says it all. There's really nothing left to say after that. They've pretty much said everything that needs to be said if that's how they're going to handle me.
Right. Exactly.
If you're not going to talk about it with me, then what in the hell's the point?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, you can't make someone come to the table. You can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Marisa. Okay, I'm going to skip this last one because I think we've covered this part of the topic. Now, Jen, you have a choice to make. I'd like to read these couple paragraphs before the next set of questions. I'm happy to read it. If you have it up and you want to read it, then you can.
If you could read it, that would be.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to read this before the next set of questions. So as we've discussed before in other shows, sometimes people don't act like themselves due to an attempt to manipulate, but sometimes it's because they just weren't taught how to live in authenticity. This can be the hard part, to determine which it is. Obviously, or at least we hope it becomes obvious. For it to be obvious when it is manipulation, we can walk away. However, if they just do not know how to be themselves and are not aware how to be authentic, we might want to take the time to be a good friend to them in the hopes that they can learn. I recently had to step away from a friend that I deeply care about, having gone through an abusive marriage as well as some past toxic friendships. My body seems to have become my barometer. I tend to people please, which is getting better through my own healing journey. But when a friendship isn't healthy for whatever reason, my mind wants to help them and work through it and put them before myself. But my body at times like this is not in agreement. My body sends painful messages to me. It sounds the warning bell. It seems to say, walk away or run. My body gets the messages before my heart and mind sometimes. Thankfully, I'm learning how to listen to the messages, the warnings that come from these reactions. It is something we can all learn to do. It just takes time and attention to what is going on inside ourselves. It takes being introspective, diving deeper into who we are, and knowing how to read others as well. Sometimes it's because they don't care about you. One-sided, all about them. They won't let you have autonomy. They get upset about situations without asking questions to determine if their thoughts about you or a situation are correct before making hasty assumptions. Sometimes a friend doesn't want you to be friends with anyone else. So taking all that into consideration, the first question, in going through these kinds of experiences, has it made you learier or more leery about opening yourself up again to friendship? So when you've had all these friendships that we're talking about tonight, all these people that have walked away, all these things we've learned from or haven't learned from, as the case may be, does it make you more leery about opening yourself up again to friendship? And we'll start with Jen. Jen, does that make you leery, all the stuff that you've been through?
It does. I hate to say that. It does. I'm learning to find a balance where it's not so much leery, but just aware.
Sure.
But I'm still working on it for sure.
Sure.
I've just been duped by people, and it makes me hyper vigilant. I don't like being in that place. It's not comfortable, and I don't like being suspicious. It's not a good feeling. So I am trying to find the balance, because I think before, way back when, I would assume everyone was good and assume that everyone had the best interest, of everybody involved.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way that that's not always the case. But at the same time, staying in that place, you could be missing out on some really good friendships.
Right.
So it's trying to be in a place of being aware as you're stepping into a new friendship or relationship. Just being educated, learning from mistakes that you've made and things that have happened to you, and allowing people to show you who they are instead of assuming one way or the other, assuming that they're all good or all bad, in an attempt to either have friends or protect yourself,
Right. Well, I don't know if you meant to, Jen, but you kind of answered the second part of the question, which is if so, which you answered yes, you are more leery. What can we do to get better at determining when we can drop our defenses and let certain people in? Do you want to add anything else to what you did? You kind of answered it, but I just want to make sure before I move on that if you have anything else, how do we do that? How, if we're leery and if we've been hurt before, what can we do to be better at first of all determining when's the right time to drop our leery attitude and let people get close to us.
Yeah, I think it's just being aware and walking through the beginnings of friendships, because I think if you're holding on to a place of being leery, you could assume that there's things there that aren't. Just in the suspicious place. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the flip side of that, I used to just gaslight myself. Like things would happen things that were showing me through their actions and that they were a certain person. And I would, gloss over it or minimize it, just because I wanted to have a friend.
Yeah.
And that's gotten me into some trouble.
Sure.
So it's definitely finding that balance of just being aware, being educated, knowing that there are people out there that, just get joy out of hurting people or misleading them or, whatever. But it's not everybody,
No.
So yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah. That was a great answer. Thank you. What about you, Marisa? Same. It's a two-part question. The first part, I'll just repeat it real quick. In going through these kinds of experience in the paragraphs that I read, has it made you more leery about opening yourself up again to friendship? And then the second part of that, after you answer that part, yes or no? If your answer is yes, what can we do to get better at determining when we can drop our defenses and let certain people in? And I can repeat any of that if you need me to.
What I've gone through just here on YouTube, it's certainly made me more leery. But the flip side of that is, even though I've had the bad experiences with the handful of people that I've had much more of the good experiences with opening up with people. Sure. Hadley is a good example. He came in for a second tonight, bless his heart. Hadley's been with me on YouTube for a couple of years now. We met in another stream, and he's been true blue all the way. So I'm still very leery, but I'm not letting it stop me from being me and still wanting to reach out to people. And really, all of this has just made me try to keep my full armor of God on, stand strong, and just to be aware and look for those red flags if they pop up and acknowledge them sooner than later instead of trying to look the other way. But I really, like I said, I've gone through some bad things, but the good things that have happened with people have way outweighed my bad experiences here on YouTube.
That's good.
So, but I do need to just continue to be more, not so much just out there open up front too much too soon and just let things happen naturally. And, I get over enthusiastic sometimes. And that gets me in trouble. We've all been there, right?
I've done that.
But yeah, now I'm 50 years old and I just don't have the energy for all that now. Now I'm like, you can be good. Okay, good. If you're gonna be bad, all right, bye.
Let me say this, because I'll go ahead and answer next. I'll answer first, and then Marisa, I'm going to ask you a question related to what we're talking about here. So for me, there was a time that I went through, especially after my divorce. So this was back in 2011 somewhere in there up until 2017. I went through a period of time where I was not interested in any new relationships at all. And that was more than just it being about friendships. It was about, my grieving, which I now look back at. I should have been celebrating, but at the time I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know that my life would change so completely, and that my wounds would be healed, and I would just be in this wonderful dynamic relationship that made everything that I've gone through in the past, it made it all work out. And Jen gets a little uncomfortable when I talk so happily about her, but I'm talking more about the relationship than I am about her necessarily. But it has just changed everything for me. So yes, I have been leery in the past about new relationships. Just because I've been hurt a lot. We've all been backstabbed. We've all had these things happen to us and chosen the wrong people. So I have been leery in the past. Now at this point, yeah, there are certain things that, if I see red flags, then I'll quickly put an end to trying to be in a relationship. But I'm still very open. And so this as far as dropping my defenses, I don't feel like I have a lot of defenses up anymore. I'm open to trying to be in a relationship with a person. Like I said, if I see red flags, there are certain ones that if I see, I won't continue, but I give people a chance. I really admire Glenn's approach on this. His idea is to not have any preconceptions about a person. I guess that I've used the term open door policy. I like to have that. I like to give people some time to show me who they are. That's my desire. I haven't always been like that, but that's where I feel like I'm at now. So in talking about the things that have happened on YouTube and the things, do you think, Marisa, do you think that sometimes you just run into certain people that you instantly feel safe with? And the reason I'm asking that is because you mentioned that you've done this before. You get excited about meeting someone, and I've done that on this channel. We've brought people in to be with us and do these broadcasts with us that seemed really good at the beginning, and then we quickly found out that that it was all just an act. Now that's happened to us a number of times. And so it seems like I would be like leery of doing that again. But with you, I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable either. With you, I just didn't feel any of that. I didn't feel leery. I didn't feel like, warning signs going off. And also Jen is a really good barometer. So if she felt uncomfortable with you, I would have been like, even if I didn't feel uncomfortable, I would have been like right away. I would have been like, no, we're not going to move forward with this. So do you feel that, Marisa? Do you feel like sometimes you just meet people that you just click right away and you feel safer with than others?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with all of you guys, it really progressed in a organic and comfortable fashion for me. I really felt that God led me here. Peanut brought me here, and that kind of was a good omen,
right,
to let me know, hey, Peanut's not going to take me somewhere unsafe.
No,
because Peanut has known some of what I went through previously too, so I knew that Peanut was not going to put me anywhere where I would be threatened or in danger in any way.
Right.
So I immediately felt comfortable here, and I really felt a good connection and a good energy with all of you, and I've enjoyed getting to know you offline as well as doing this with you. It's a little bit daunting to be the odd man or odd woman. You three have known each other much longer.
Sure.
But the energy doesn't lie. The vibration doesn't lie.
Right.
it is what it is, and it feels good, and I feel safe and accepted and
good.
loved and blessed, and I hope you feel good things
Yeah.
and love from me as well. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
think you
Absolutely.
can feel safe, because I certainly felt that way with all of you.
Yeah, I just because you were talking about the recent thing that happened, I just thought that was an interesting question. Thank you for answering and being transparent about that. Yeah. Glenn, you're up on this one. So it's a two-part question. The first part is after reading Jen's paragraph and going through these kinds of experiences, has it made you more leery? And I think I know the answer, but we're going to go through it anyway. So has it made you...
What's my answer?
Your answer is no, you're not leery about opening yourself up in friendships. And then the answer to the second part is you don't have any boundaries or defenses. You just let people in regardless. And then, if they show themselves unapproved, so to speak, then you'll react accordingly.
I probably should just resign from the panel because you know everything. So.
You're so damn consistent, Glenn.
Oh, well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you spend all your time stuffing up and trying to get yourself healthy, I mean, it's like going fishing. You can throw your line in, and you can pull up a toadfish, or you can pull up a brim. How do you know till you reel the line in?
Yeah, that's true.
So, and just because you've had a bad experience in the past, that's a different scenario.
Right.
If you're not open, you get nowhere, as far as I see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I can't fathom people. Look, I think you can play on this. I've been hurt so many times, and I don't want to do it. It's like playing the victim almost. I can understand why people are reluctant, but you can't. I don't see it's fair to continue to use it as an excuse.
Right.
That's where I sort of draw the line. I mean, you either make a call. Either you're going to be open, or you're going to be closed. Pick one. Simple.
Yeah.
Maybe I look at it too simplistically because I've stuffed up so much.
Yeah.
May well be. So. Well,
thank you, Glenn. Yeah. So, maybe other people might think you are looking at too simplistic, but you're an adult. You can decide to leave the door open door policy with anyone that you want to. That's your right to do that. And I'm saying that I desire to be more that way because I want to give people a chance. I don't want to miss a good relationship with someone because I'm too leery. But having said that, I understand that not everyone has gone through what I've gone through. People have gone through way more abuse than I have. And I'm not like trying to compare journeys with anyone, but I understand if someone is a little bit more leery, they have more boundaries than other people. I get it. I mean, I know a lot of what Jen's gone through, and I understand based on that and hearing stories and seeing some of it for myself. I understand why she would be reluctant, or anybody would be reluctant based on what they've gone through. But I wish we lived in a world where you could just trust people immediately and you didn't get hurt, you didn't get stabbed in the back, and there was no division, and they didn't gossip about you or harass you online or any of that. I wish that it was like that. But unfortunately, in my opinion, we live in a world where we generally have to be careful. It's not always my desire, but sometimes you have to be careful. I forgot to say, I didn't forget, I saw him come in the chat, but I wanted to say hello to Believe. He's a dear friend of us and of the channel. And so I'm glad that you're here, Believe. So thank you for coming. And I just posted, we're about to close up, guys. We're almost done here. I want to read the last paragraph and then we'll say good night to everybody. John says, I've been using something similar to Glenn's approach, quote, give them enough rope, end quote, has been working for me for many years. Yeah. So for me, it's not give them enough rope, but it's similar. It's, if you give a person enough time, they eventually show you who they are. It's not about them telling you, because I've fallen for that before. I'm thinking of, I'm not going to mention any names, but it hasn't been recently. It's been a while back, but we had a person come on the channel and she looked really good on paper and had really good comments, and I was just blown away, and so was Jen, and we let this person on the channel, and she didn't do anything on the air. I mean, it wasn't like she did the horrible things. It was that her personal life was just so messed up, and it started to leak into our world, and so it didn't work out, and she, unfriended us, and that's happened a number of times. As someone that seemed like, goes back to one of the first questions, did it ever start out sweet and then end up souring? Yes, in a way, and in another way, it's just the person was good at putting on a nice mask, and then, like I said, when you give a person long enough, they show you who they are, and that's what happened. So we saw who the person was, and you just sometimes doesn't work out, and you have to wish the person the best. And if they walk away, then it saves you the trouble of having to cut things off yourself. And I prefer that. I prefer if someone wants to walk away, they walk away. But sometimes it just is it's a decision you have to make, and it's not fun. It's not pleasurable. It's not something that we relish having to do, but sometimes you just have to make that decision. If someone's personal struggle is too toxic, if it bleeds into your relationship with them, then sometimes that's the best decision to make to protect yourself. So there's that. I wanted to read one more question or one more comment. Celtic Man says, young people, I have the time to see a good spark in them. If they are bad, then I will not give them my time. So only the bad ones, I would say, that I have in my life still is because we are friends and the same age. But I do keep a healthy distance still with these types. LOL, I'm not naive. So kind of similar, it sounds like. I have certain friends that are better than others. I have a couple people that I still talk to that, I've had a lot of time spent with them, but I'm very cautious. Like, I just don't do certain things with them based on past experiences. I have no problem saying hello to them on Facebook or Messenger or whatever, and they're closing my door. But I'm just not going to go do the same things. I've changed and matured and grown, and what I would have done 20 years ago, going out to bars and things like that. I'm not saying I refuse to go out to a bar or anything. It's not a lifestyle I live anymore. So these people some of them are still doing the same stuff that we used to do when I was in my 20s, and I'm just not into that anymore. So doesn't mean I don't talk to them, just means we don't do the same things. So there we go. All right, I'm going to read this last paragraph. We'll say our goodnights. Jen says, with practice, we can become an expert at learning how to protect ourselves and to know the difference between a real friend and someone who may not be good for us. All friendships, good and bad ones, can be a gift of experience. Through it all, we learn more about people and we learn more about ourselves. So true. When they are good, we have a person or a group of people where there's mutual support, love, and encouragement. And with the ones that don't work out, we gain experience and knowledge. Thanks for joining us tonight and sharing your own experiences with us regarding friendships. Have a great week, everyone. And that's it, guys. Believe just put a comment. I'll read this one, then we'll say our goodnights. Believe said, philosophy is interesting. Dr. Flowers had a guest that suggested everyone studying theology should learn philosophy. I don't know, but it seems logical. I saw that and thought it was interesting. I love philosophy, by the way, Believe. I took, when I was in getting my degree in psychology, I took sociology classes and philosophy classes. I took two semesters, 101 and 102. I think that's how it was in philosophy. And I'm just fascinated by all these big thinkers and their concepts about society and religion and all of that. And I have certain ones that I like more than others, but philosophy, I found it very interesting. There's a lot that can be gained. I mean, it's all just theorizing. That's all it is. It's just looking at nature and looking at religion and looking at the belief in God and all that, and thinking about how that affects society and just coming up. It's just there's no definitive answers. It's just thinking about things, and I like thinking. So I agree with you, believe with that comment. All right, let's say our good nights. We'll start with Marisa. Marisa, say goodbye to the people. And by the way, next week is your turn, I believe, for the write up. So we'll look forward to that. And thank you to Jen for taking the time to do tonight's write up. It was very informative, and we covered a lot of good topics. Oh, hello, and goodbye to Debbie too. She usually is here at the very beginning, and no guilt and shame, Debbie. No guilt and shame for not being here right at the beginning, but I saw you pop in and I forgot to say hello to you. So we're glad that you came. You've got a perfect record. You don't want to mess up your attendance. Marisa, sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead and say goodnight to everybody. If you have any closing comments or anything, then
I do. Well, first of all, thank you, Jen. Wonderful write-up, wonderful show, everybody. This was a lot of fun. My closing thought about whether to walk away or run. How do you know when you should let it go, let someone go? Examine what are they making you be? How are they making you behave? Are they bringing out good things in you? Are they trying to bring out good things in you? Or are they bringing up negative things, bad behaviors? I think that's a pretty good gauge whether they're narcissist or not. If they're, look at the fruit. Again, we come back to scripture, you know a tree by its fruit. Look at the fruit of your relationship with whatever person in question, and what are they bringing out in you, good fruit or bad fruit? And get rid of the bad.
That's right.
Thanks again, everybody. This was a great show. And thanks to everybody who came in. Thanks to Hadley Cape Breton. My boo. Everybody has a boo. Hadley's my boo. But this was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to next week. What are we going to talk about? I'm still working on it, but
okay.
I'm sure we'll have a good time and a good discussion no matter what. Thanks, everybody. Share it out. Shout it out. Tweet it out. Let's get some more butts here in the comments. In the chat.
That'll be good.
Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you here live next Sunday. Here.
There you go. Like I said, if one of the ladies wants to do a makeup tutorial while we're talking about all these subjects, we might get up to 1 million views.
I thought about it. I thought about doing putting on my Frumacera makeup from Fiddler on the Roof and doing it on camera while I'm talking.
Ooh,
that's great.
I could go there. You want to go there? We'll go there.
Thank you, Marisa. We appreciate it. Jen, you're up next. If you have any closing comments, and just take a minute to say goodbye to everyone for us.
Yeah, I think this was a good and informative broadcast. I was thinking broadcast. And I think it's always it's just a moving target. We're always learning and growing, and sometimes we get it right, and as long as we're learning from those things, I think it's all good,
Yeah.
All good, but all good.
All good.
Anyway, so glad all the people, especially the new people in the chat, and also the long-time listeners. We appreciate you guys all that came out tonight. And it's wonderful. And I pray that everybody has a good week. And I'm looking forward to Marisa's write-up next week. The surprise.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. John said, I'd watch Glenn's tutorial on foundation. What do you think, Glenn? Take a minute to any closing comments and say goodbye to everyone, and tell us if you're ready to do a makeup tutorial starting with how to put on foundation.
John, mate, you got to stop stealing this. I was going to say, Nez, I'm so sorry to tell you, but I'd rather watch Cripps put his makeup on.
You haven't seen my makeup job as that character from Fiddler, so
thank you, Marisa.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Thanks for saving.
Foundation. Well, Sandra doesn't wear makeup, so I can't even go to the cupboard and practice.
Great.
No, I think it'd be a bit boring. I think we'll just pass on that.
Okay.
Say goodnight and crawl back into the hole.
Okay.
Thanks, Preps, and everybody. Good
Thank you,
night.
Glenn. As usual, I appreciate your different view of things, your different perspective. I mean, what kind of boring show would this be if we all had the same perspective? I mean, I don't think I would even want to show up. It's good to have different perspective. So thank you, Glenn, for everything that you do and for being part of the broadcast as usual. And let's see, did everyone say goodbye except for me?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, everyone did. Okay. Thank you guys for being a part. If you're listening to the playback, thank you. And as Marisa said, if you do like what we're talking about, I mean, we're a small channel. We have 300 subscribers, which we're happy to have those. Everyone that comes and hangs out in the chat and everybody that listens after the fact, we appreciate all of you. If you do like what we're talking about, please just tell someone else. You can share the link for the previous broadcast. We have an archive. If you haven't listened to all the former broadcasts, I mean, even the old ones are good. It just was different format. We had more people on the panel and lots of back and forth discussions. And back then, too, we had some really, really long broadcasts. Now we try to keep it to about 2 hours. I know with the attention span, and people are saying that they listen for 7 minutes. So if you don't catch them in 7 minutes, well, we're not concerned about the 7 minutes. If you're with us this far, then you'll listen to a 2-hour broadcast. So we appreciate it if you do. And there's the kitty. There's Mario. I think that's
There's Mario.
Welcome, Mario. We're glad that you're here.
You like the show?
Mario, do the write up next week.
There you go.
Aw.
There you go.
He's so
Thanks again to Jen for taking the time to do the write-up. And next week we'll be hearing from Marisa. And thank you guys. Thank you everyone who listens. Thank you for those that take the time to come to the chat. We appreciate all of you. Hope everyone has a good week. And until next time, good night and God bless. Thanks for listening.